Welcome back to this third part tutorial or walkthrough of Toxin. And before I go any further with this character in detailing, I just want to fix some of these teeth situations I've got going on. This teeth situation I've got going on at the moment. I'm not quite happy with how it's turned out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select one of the teeth and split the hidden, and I'm going to duplicate that teeth. Or that tooth, sorry. Oh. And I'm gonna add some more variation in here with the teeth. Just add a few more teeth in here. There's a bit of a gap here. If you look at plenty of references of Venom or Carnage, you'll see that he doesn't have a lot of gaps in the teeth in the front from the movie version. We are duplicate it again and just vary it up a bit. Just gonna split this one as well and vary that one up a bit as well there. There we go, that's a little better. They all are the same tooth essentially, so what we can do is we can merge these down and come in here to the brush settings, auto masking, mask by polygroup, and if we turn on the polygroup and we turn off the lines, we'll see that each one has got a separate, each tooth has got a sort of separate colours attached to it, and what happens is we can now go in pinch tool, just pinch in some of these. If they don't have separate colours to them, it's quite easy. All you gotta do is come in here, polygroups, and auto group, and it should give each one a different colour now. So once we do this, we can just thin out some of these so they don't all look the same. There you can see it's starting to look a bit more organic, not all regimental and the same size. That will essentially do it. Now we can get on and back onto the full model, onto the actual model. So in here, I just want to, let's turn off that setting, that brush quick. I'm just gonna give him some gum line if I can. Come here, isolate it, and then smooth out. And yeah. So it's got the teeth are sitting on some gums instead. So they're not just floating in midair. And then come in with the dam standard. Just emphasize that sort of turn off that mask. And I'm just going to emphasize this lip curl on the top of it. And what you can do then is take the clay brush, because it's got a soft sort of effect to it, and just fill out some of that gum line. Doesn't have to be perfect. There we are. Get the move brush. Just gonna move some of these parts around a bit more. Right, I'm gonna leave it at the mouth as is now. I think he's pretty much done there in that area. So let's just, using clay buildup, just fix some of this in the back here. Cool. So now we're going to use some alphas to give us some texture on the skin. Not too much though. I don't want to destroy any of the muscle tone that we have got going on this character. We're not focusing too much. Again, we're not focusing too much on the back of this character because we won't really see the back of the character. But if we were to come back later on, if I was to come back later on and make a full body version of this guy, I will probably spend a bit more time on the back of this guy to finish him off. But for now, I'm just going to try and focus on the front, because I want the focal point to be this area, the mouth and the tongue and the head, and maybe some of the back and a little bit of the body. But yeah, I'll be focusing on that more than the rest of it. So grab some alphas and I'll be back in 1 second. And we're back. So I have just imported some alphas that I've got from the ZBrush Central Resource Center on the website. On their website, you can actually download them all for free, and I'll leave a link down in the corner here somewhere. Maybe you can go and find it for yourself. They're all free downloads. Just download them and use them. And there's quite a lot of stuff in there, so that's a good thing. So with the skin, I don't want to, like I said earlier, I don't want to actually damage the skin too much, because I quite like the sort of look of it at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the intensity down quite a bit on these alphas. In the alpha section, I'm just going to modify it. The surface on, and this is just a drag rectangle at the moment. Now I'm just using some of this burnt skin texture. It's still a bit too high, so I just wanted to make the actual body, like the topology, I just wanted to break up the surface basically with this. So you can go around the whole thing, just adding some noise, basically some fine noise to the skin, and this will actually help out a lot later on when we do the when we use the reflective lights or the lights inside of ZBrush, and I'll show you how to do that. I'll show you how to do that. So we're just gonna put it everywhere for now. Not too worried about the cleanliness of where I'm putting it. Again, this is a concept piece. If I was you, I would save it at the point where before we started stenciling. So give me 1 second. So when you saved it as another copy, then at least you'll have something to go back to, which is a cleaner copy without all the surface details on, if you wanted to, make a full body version of this character later on. So with that, I'm going to use some of these veins that I've found. I'm going to add them all over the model as well. Now, some of them I'm going to actually, for the arms, I'm just going to make the asymmetry, take the turning asymmetry off. Oh, the turn symmetry off, sorry. And I'm gonna put 2 different types of veins. Again, just breaking the symmetry up a bit, so it's not all the same. Now I'm gonna turn it back on. Now I'll find another vein. Maybe this is too much. This one? Yeah, a bit too much, that one. This one will do. Again, not too worried about where these are placed, as long as it looks cool. I guess that's what you can say. There we are. Right. Now I'm just going to use this little skin pores brush, or alpha, and I'm going to use the spray. I'm going to spray it on to my model. But I'm going to make sure the stroke, the lazy mouse, is turned up a bit because I don't want him to compact into one area too much. I want it to gradually fill out. Again, this brush is good because it gives you little dimples, little pores on the skin that can get really caught by the light. Gets caught by the light quite well, and you can really go to town with this one. Sometimes less is more, especially when it gets to the detailing section. You don't want to lose what you've done, what you worked hard on, with too much detail. So just bear that in mind. The underlying model should still push through when you're looking at it, and all those forms and shapes that we spent so much time on should come out still. I'm just going with a dam standard. I'm just adding a bit more detail around the eyes area, mouth. And I'm going to just solo the model and add some of that in here. Just in case the light catches the inside of this mouth, I want to make sure it can get some variations in that. Also on these little symbiotic pieces, strands. I'll turn it off. I'm going to leave the teeth for now. Actually, we'll do the teeth now. So I'm just going to Control D to subdivide it. Get some more subdivisions. You can go up to 2 million if you want. It's not a problem. And then I'm going to use alpha number 8. I'm just going to add some of this to the teeth here. I'm just going to turn off the lazy mode. I'm going to turn drag rectangle on. I'm just going to add it to the roots of the teeth just to break it up a bit. So it's not all perfect teeth. Got some sort of shapes to them. And essentially that's really all you need to do, is just a little bit of detailing work on them. Because you can always paint in some more details to it inside of Photoshop. And moving on to the tongue, I'm going to quickly add some detail to this. So sitting at 1.6 million, I'm going to go up one more subdivision level, and using the Alpha 60, the brush, a spray brush, you want to swap the rotation of the alpha so it's horizontal, vertical, horizontal, and then just lightly paint some lines going along it so it looks like the surface of a tongue, basically. Like so. And then you can come in here with the Alpha 7, bump it up, turn on symmetry, just add some of these dimples onto the tongue. Go into my brush, turn back face colour on, so that it doesn't affect the back side of it, just the front. And paint some more of these on. As it gets closer to the end, maybe just taper off that. Using the dam standard, I'm just gonna define that middle piece a bit more. Because it's not perfectly symmetrical, I might have to turn off symmetry and just eyeball it as it comes down, and just cut some thicker, more deeper lines from the center out towards the edge. And using this standard brush, turn everything off, bump it up, and just come along the edges of this model to make this tongue look really disgusting. Just move out the end of that tongue, and yeah, just add some lines in here. Now, I normally would sculpt this symmetrically and it'll be a lot quicker, but because we didn't do it symmetrically, it's going to take a little longer than normal to do. Just add some variation along the top. There we are. That will about do it for the tongue. Bring back everything and have a look at it. Oh, looks pretty good. And that's essentially the model done. We just need to paint him now, and we'll move on to rendering in Photoshop. So, yeah, let's jump into the painting. So, Toxin, by the looks of him, he's got red on the top and sort of a dark bluish, which would probably be black, along the bottom. So, I'm going to start off with I'm going to turn it on to skin shader first. And I'm going to start off with a red as a base for this character. So, in the standard brush, turn RGB on, 100, color, fill object. I'm going to make his tongue a green. Fill that. And his teeth will be a bone white. And I'll just fill that up. Now the rest of it is just coming in with the standard brush. What I usually do is I just put on the color spray and alpha number 7. Turn stroke lazy mouse off, or you can press L, it does the same thing. I'm gonna, instead of doing a pure black, I'm going to go for a bit of a purple to emphasize the changing color from dark to red. But I'm only going to do it to a certain point, and now we need to turn off backface culling for this brush so we can get in all those nooks and crannies. So I'm going to just paint him along the arms and bottom torso. Again, not worrying too much about being neat. And I'm going to choose the red color again and then paint back in, because it looks like it comes down to his abs here. This red. Turn this onto a alpha or 1, and I'm going to just quickly see if this works. Sort of make a pattern of sorts. Totally up to you. I'm going to just leave it as is, like this, and just have some darker patches coming through. I might just turn the focal shift down, so that's better. Choosing the red. There we go. That'll do. I'm gonna very quickly, add in some dark areas in his skin where the fake shadowing might occur. Now, you don't really have to do this, but I feel like it helps later on when we take it to Photoshop. And there's other methods you can use to do this as well, which I'll show you in a bit. You can get in those cracks and whatnot and really get in there and paint those shadows properly. There we are, that'll do. I'm going to look at the image quickly. It looks like he's got green in the mouth as well, so we'll probably just choose that green and paint it in. It's coming out the bottom there. I have to turn on backface culling. Paint. I'm gonna go for the green on the interior of the mouth, just to match the tongue. It'll definitely give us a bit more of a change in the look of the character, so we can recognize it as not being carnage or venom, basically. Now I'm just going to paint these eyes. Start with the black. Like that. Choose the red again. Just paint back in some of that red areas. And then using an off-white, I'm just going to paint in those white areas of the eyes. Like so. Come back in with the black. Again, don't forget to turn off the back face culling. Really get on your nerves. Alright, that's essentially his colours done. So what I'll do now is I'll come into the masking, and I will choose mask by cavity. And this is just going to give us all that cavity detail from the model. And I'm just going to invert it and blur the mask. And then I'm going to hide it. Come over here to the color spray, Alpha 07 again. And you're using this. I'm just gonna paint over these areas. And I'm just gonna paint over the areas again, and you'll see how the mask works. Anything that wasn't masked is staying red, and everything that was masked is turning a darker shade, which is what I'm looking for. And you can swap these out quite a bit and play around with the masking tool or masking tools. There's quite a few different ways to do it, to utilize it. Let's just come in here and mask by smooth and see what that happens. We'll see what happens there. And these ones are going to pick up all those little pores that I mentioned earlier. And what I want to do is something a little different for this character. I want to paint in those pores all white. I'll boost up the intensity of the RGB so I can see it better. Too much on that one. Again, this is pretty quick for me doing this model. Normally I'd have a little bit more time. I think at the moment this is like, what is it, 4 hours? 3 hours? But I like to usually take my time with these things. Go to peaks and values. Invert it. See how it looks. Turn off the mask and see how it works. This one maybe not so much. I want to fix these eyes though. I'm just going to view the mask again. Invert. Bring the intensity down. Just come in here, boost it, blur it, unblur it, adjust, blur times 2. I just want to blur it so it's not so pixelated, so that I can come in here and do some painting. Maybe a darker red. This will do. Yeah. Kind of a blending going on. I want to change those gums to a pink, much brighter gum type texture. Maybe not that bright. That's better. These eyes can be a little whiter. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to mask out that area, flip it, add some turn this down, and we want to darken the corners. Oop, too much. Just a gradation. We can do this inside of Photoshop as well. It's not a big deal. And the teeth, I just want to add a bit of brown to them at the beginning, and I'll do the same thing for the gums, as if they're sitting in the gums. And the tongue, hit it with a darker green, using masks again. I'm going to invert it, grow it, solo it, hide the mask, just come in here and add some texture or paint to it. I'm going to invert the mask. Actually, I'm going to use smooth. Mask by smooth. Invert the mask. Get some of this bright green on. There we go. Make it truly look bad. Toxic. I might even introduce another color in here. Just along the middle. At the tip. make it a little darker on the end here. And on the main piece, smooth. Invert it. Just come in here and do the same thing. You probably won't see the inside of the mouth, but it's nice to know it's there. And that, I would say, is essentially texturing is done. So that was a very quick paint over of this model. Now I'm going to do a little bit of posing for him, and then I'll stop there and we'll render it in another video, because that could take some time. So let's get posing him a bit more, so he's not just a boring pose right now. So we're just going to go to the transpose tool, layers on, T-pose, mesh. Layers on just means that whenever you go back into your model after doing the T-pose mesh and clicking the T-pose to subtool, then you can turn off that layer and it will bounce you back to the T-pose, which is good if you wanted to save the T-pose and then sculpt on it and then turn on the posed version of it again. You don't have to worry about having to repose it. So for this one, it'll be a simple manipulation. I'm going to rotate this tongue. Sit it in the mouth a bit better. Using the move tool or move brush, just move it a bit into position. Just looking for a cool pose. His head down a bit. Just trying to figure out where I'm going to put the camera as well, so you can get the full pose in a nice way, basically. Constantly thinking about where I'm going to put this camera when I'm doing this for the best shot. Wondering if I should pull this arm back. That's a pretty cool pose. Get some of that stomach in there, as well as the tongue and everything else. Kind of looking off into the distance. Yeah, I'm going to go for that pose there. So, when you're happy with the pose that you got, you can just hit the T-pose, transpose to T-pose, or T-pose to transpose, and wait for it to pop into place. There we are. Now this tongue, I might just rotate it that way instead. Rotate it towards. Yeah, that'll do. Maybe we'll stick out the side of his mouth. A lazy. Or sort of a lazy pose. Yeah, cool. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save it as is, and when we return, we'll have the rendering side of things to do. So, yeah, come back in 1 minute, I guess. Thanks.